Hello and welcome to No Spin. I'm Nidhi Razdan. From opposing quotas for the poor to a confrontation with the governor for sitting on a number of bills, the DMK has really been making headlines this week. The party firstly has taken a consistent stand that reservations should not be based on economic criteria but social backwardness, and are planning to file a review petition in the Supreme Court against the top court's order which upheld a 10% quota for the poor. But there's also a growing standoff between the government of Tamil Nadu and the governor, with the DMK now writing to the president calling for Governor RN Ravi's removal, even accusing him of instigating communal hatred. There are a number of bills that are awaiting the governor's consent, which has sparked off this row between the state government led by the DMK and the governor's office. Well, joining us now, Tamil Nadu's finance minister, Mr. P. Thiagarajan. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Thiagarajan. To ask you first about the governor, a very strongly worded letter has gone from the DMK to the president demanding the governor's removal. Amongst other things, you have accused him of obstructing a democratically elected government and instigating communal hatred. Can you explain how?
First, Nidhi, I'd like to make a slight distinction here. I think you cannot interchange DMK and government of Tamil Nadu in your statements. Unlike certain people like the BJP, we understand the constitutional separation between an elected government and its role on the one hand and a political party on the other. Even if that party happens to be running the administration because of a majority in the legislature or the parliament, it still needs to separate what is the government's view from what is the party's view. So I want to make that distinction because it's crucial to a couple of points. As far as the reservations are concerned, it is the government's view of the government of Tamil Nadu that these are in violation of various aspects of previous Supreme Court judgments and our notion of social justice and so forth. And this is an official communication from the government of Tamil Nadu to the government, to the appropriate authorities, and it will be a government appeal rather than an individual appeal if the review petition is filed. As far as the governor is concerned, it is from not just the DMK party and its MPs, but also all the coalition partners who have made a point and a representation to the president that the functioning of the administration has been thwarted or interrupted or interfered with by the governor. Now, I want to make that distinction again because in the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly in the past, there had been debates where the governor was excoriated and kind of, spoken about in less than decorous terms. And so what had happened was that in the previous DMK administered government, Talavar Kalaignar had moved a motion in the House that when sitting in government, we shall not have any derogatory discussions, and the House shall always respect the office of the governor. And so as a sitting minister, I can talk about facts, but I'm not going to comment on, allegations or speculation about the governor.
But how did it reach this point where you have this letter that, as I said, has been written to the president, and how have things sort of degenerated to this point, this relationship between the state and the governor?
Well, again, I'll say one thing with great standing because I'm a sitting minister in the cabinet of the government, and I'll say one thing more as an individual. With great standing and qualification, I would say that many of our bills have either not been passed or are sat on or not even sent up to Delhi at the appropriate time. And that is a clearly unconstitutional act. Nowhere in the vision of the founders of our country or the framers of the Constitution was there room for the personal views of one unelected individual appointed by the union government, by the president on the advice of the union government, to second guess or to have an opinion about legislation that is passed by the elected assembly, a member, an assembly of elected state representatives. In some cases, unanimous resolutions he has sat on for months and months. This is not within the ambit of the role of the governor in any democracy. Unelected, appointed people don't get to make that kind of call. You take it to the, as an individual, I'd say one thing. I would say that the role of governor is one that should have high dignity and extreme decorum. And it's very unseemly for people sitting in the office of governor to start espousing philosophical views about, things that are beyond the Constitution or have their own opinion about how society ought to be run, etc. Those are things you can do as a, street level politician. Those are not things you're supposed to do sitting as the governor of one of the largest and most industrious states with the second largest economy in the country. It's completely unbecoming for that role.
But when you say that he has instigated communal hatred, are there specific examples of that?
No, as I say, I'm not going, as a sitting minister, I don't want to get into castigating the governor of the state. I'm not going to get into details. I've told you, practically our bills are not getting cleared. I can give you a list.
Are you worried, Ms. Thiagarajan, that this is not confined to Tamil Nadu alone? We're seeing a trend now, especially with 3 southern states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Telangana, where there are ugly confrontations right now between the state government and the office of the governor. And therefore, what is the larger message that's coming out of that?
Yeah, I would just make the observation again, other people can get to that level of detail. I would just make the observation that it is worth noting that these are all states where A, the government is not of the BJP, and B, where the BJP has very little electoral presence, if any, right? Hardly in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, in the few single-digit percentages of votes or single-digit representatives, or Andhra for that matter, or Telangana for that matter. So I think, it is regrettable that governments which are run, by parties other than the BJP seem to be facing greater interference or greater, what can I say, hurdles from governors appointed by a BJP union government.
On the issue of reservations, again, this is something that most political parties in the country have welcomed. As you said, the state government of Tamil Nadu has taken a position on the issue of reservations based on economic criteria. But what do you say to those, including the court, which believes that in a sense the criteria for reservations has to change with time, and therefore if it was based on socially backward groups at one point, it needs to look at economically weaker sections as well?
Yeah, I apologize. I have to run to the airport. I'll just make 4 points, all concrete points with data. The first is that it's hard for you to eradicate the effects of 1,000 years of caste bias in 75 years of independence. So I think this notion that, hypothetically at some point it should change, I agree, but the point is, probably many years away. The second, there is complete disparity in various judgments of the courts at different points, where the Supreme Court has held in the past that economic criteria alone cannot be the basis of any reservation. And there are many, precedent judgments that have been overturned or contradicted by this judgment that gives, reservations above the 50%. Third, the number of 8 lakhs is just a completely outrageous, egregious number, right? In the country, there are about 50 million people that file returns, and about 17 million, 1.7 crore of them actually pay income tax. Considering what the income tax level is, basically 8 lakhs is hugely beyond the weakest sections of society. We are a country where the per capita income is about 1,35,000 rupees, and where the income tax rate already is set effectively at about 5 lakh rupees. Now you say that there are only 17 people paying actual taxes, 17 million people, and you have a reservation of 10% for effectively the same level of income, up to the same level of income, where on the other side you say that's the creamy layer and you exclude them from the OBC and other reservations. So what you have carved out, and many people have shown us this, what you have carved out is that there's a 10% quota for about 3 or 4% of the population that can apply, and all of them are relatively well off. Now, the last point I'll make is, this becomes evident when you look at the few instances where they have already implemented this, where the cutoff marks for the EWS are almost always lower than the BC cutoff marks, and in other places where in some cases we have seen they're actually lower than the SC cutoff marks. So effectively you have created a lower hurdle for people who could be earning 8 lakhs a year, which is more than 4 times the per capita income, and much higher than the income tax level, of which only 1% or 1.8% of our country pays income taxes in the first place. So this design is structurally flawed if your ambition was really to focus on the truly economically weak. I would say these are the 4 reasons we're against.
All right, as you said, it doesn't really benefit the truly economically weak, and you can't, in a sense, wish away caste-based discrimination that's been there for centuries either. Dr. Thiagarajan, thanks very much for joining us today on those 2 important issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, let me go straight across to S.G. Surya, the State Secretary of the Tamil Nadu BJP, who's joining us. Mr. A. Saravanan, spokesperson of the DMK, also with us. Mr. Surya, just to you first, and your first reactions to the Tamil Nadu Finance Minister's comments there. One, that governors are increasingly interfering in the working of non-BJP governments, and we're seeing that happening in the South in particular. And as he put it, governors should not behave like street-level netas. How do you respond to that?
He spoke about pending bills and various other things. But as you see, the 4 bills that were passed to the government by the state government after passing the state legislature is about curbing the powers of the governor, which we are following for the last 7 decades in this country. So that is pending. So they cannot make it as like all the bills that they sent are for the goodness of the people and for the welfare of the state. And majority of the bills are amendment bills. They are not actual bills. So when it is an amendment bill, there is no political color that can be attributed. It is a regular administrative process, and the usual delay that is happening every time is painted as political in nature. That is the problem. Secondly, they want the governor not to air his personal opinion in any of the matters that he feels is right. For example, he has a view on Tirupurul. The DMK doesn't want the governor to give any other alternate view than what it is propagating for the last 5-6 decades in the state. So we keep asking, give us a legitimate or credible accusations against the governor that he has interfered in the governance of the state, or any of the bills that he has not yet passed that is earth-shattering and is of very important in nature. So I feel they are unnecessarily politicizing these issues because they have been failing badly in the governance front for the last 1.5 years. That is a clear accusation. There is absolutely nothing credible you can blame on the governor.
Mr. Saravanan, do you want to respond to that? I mean, is it just as simple as Mr. Surya has made it out to be, that these are just a few bills that relate to the governor's own powers? There are actually quite a number of bills, aren't there?
Yes. There are 20 bills. This is an outright lie that these bills are not in public importance. We have sent a bill which speaks about banning online gambling. There is a bill which is about establishment of Siddha universities. There is a bill about Tamil Nadu Transparency in Tenders Act. He says these are all amendments. So what? You can't make amendments, is it? When are the state governments stripped of the power to make amendments? When a legislature passes the bill, it means it has got the imprimatur of the will of the people. Nobody else has the business to sit on it. Especially when the constitution is very clear. It says as soon as possible. Does the governor not know English, or he does not know jurisprudence? The Supreme Court has earlier condemned the Tamil Nadu governor when he sat on such an instance. He sat on the resolution sent by the Tamil Nadu cabinet. On what basis? And that apart, he's making seditious statements. The statement made by the governor is this. He says that India is dependent on one religion like the rest of the world. Is he not aware of the constitution? Is India based on any one religion? India is a secular country. We are following the constitution. We are not following any one religion. That is why we are saying he is getting diktats from his RSS handlers and speaking the language of the RSS from the pulpit. We are saying don't do that. Don't speak like a platform speaker. You are not a third-rated politician to make such comments. You have a dignity of office is there. Please hold that dignity of office.
Mr. Surya, is the Tamil Nadu governor making political statements? Isn't he actually making political statements, as the DMK is pointing out?
No.
And is that what you think befits the office of the governor?
See, the governor did not take a mention of religion, but instead he had used the word dharma. And he also went ahead and said about Sanatana Dharma. So it is the belief of, not only the governor, but the crores of Indians who are living here. So I think they shouldn't have problem with it because he has his views. After all, he is also entitled to freedom of speech and expression that the constitution gives to every other citizen in this country. So how somebody telling that India is united but Dharma becomes seditious? I really don't understand. I think he has a very wrong interpretation of Constitution of India. That is what I can see from the
he's a constitutional functionary, so he can't actually have a personal opinion on
Absolutely.
things. I mean, he has to be a little careful in what he says. I think that's the argument here. And why is it that Mr. Surya, it's not just in Tamil Nadu, but we're seeing governors in confrontations with other non-BJP governments in the south in particular. It's happening in Kerala right now. It's happening in Telangana as well. Why is this pattern emerging?
Honestly, we are not spokesperson for the governors, but since our party is dragged into every controversy, we are forced to clear our stand. Kerala, if you see, there are two important bills that are pending and that has created major controversy. One is the Lokayukta bill. We all know why Lokayukta there is there to prevent corruption of people in public office. The amendment that the Kerala government has sent is, even if the Lokayukta indict some government officers, they need not demit the officer. So that is the amendment that was sent to the governor, which he is clearly opposing to. And the second one is about the reduction of powers of the chancellor, who is the governor. So I think other than these two bills, there are no major pending bills in Kerala. So this has got nothing to do with the BJP, RSS or anybody. So it is an absolute governance matter. Anybody with a neutral knowledge will understand that curbing powers of Lokayukta is not in good letter and not in good spirit. Again, in Telangana, there is absolutely nothing, no bills are pending. There are only administrative issues that are happening. I think they are politicizing this because they are maybe afraid of BJP's growth in those states. They have no other issues to counter the BJP, and hence they are dragging governors into the controversy.
We have Mr. Sanjay
in all
Hegde,
the three states.
Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, also joining us. Mr. Hegde, of course, confrontations between governors and state governments is not new. Neither is the politicization of the governor's office. But what do you see that's really different in what's happening now? Is it a more active interference on what should be routine governance issues, such as passing of bills that a state assembly clears?
See, the governor and the president of India, they only reign, they do not rule. We follow a parliamentary form of democracy. Long before all this happened, a seven-judge bench in Shamsher Singh's case, way back in the 1970s, said that the governor has a very limited role in his own discretion. Otherwise, while he is the head of the state, he is not the head of the government. Governors have no role in the active day-to-day functioning of the government. I heard the BJP spokespersons defend the governor not signing certain bills because he thought it was right, he thought it was wrong. The governor is not a third chamber of the legislature. The governor does not function as a super boss over anyone. He is a governor, the head of state, said to be friend, philosopher and guide to the government. But individually, if he or she has individual views, please step outside, resign from the governorship and then do it. If you are a constitutional head, then you only do such jobs as are assigned to you specifically in the Constitution. We take this from British parliamentary practice. No matter how obnoxious a bill, the King or Queen of England cannot sit in judgment over it. Parliament or the legislature is supreme.
Mr. Surya? Is that what's being forgotten, what the role of the governor is supposed to be?
My only question from both the co-panelists is, please tell me one instance where the governor has interfered and the day-to-day functioning of the government is hampered in any of these three states. In any of these three
But if you don't clear 20 bills, it's an interference. 20 bills.
I'm telling you, see, 20 bills, 16 are amendment bills, Nidhi, and there are many bills that were already passed by the governor anyway. I'm telling you purely administrative reasons that are happening. They're trying to politicize it. There are so many bills that have already been cleared. I don't see a controversy here. because you cannot paint political colors to the bills that are purely administrative in nature. Why would any governor want to sit on bills that are purely administrative in nature? See, I told you 4 bills are sent to the governor, which will in fact reduce his powers and throw him away from all the universities.
Mr. Saravanan wants to come in on that.
Told about the
problem with the RSS spokespersons and the BJP spokespersons is that they don't believe in the Indian constitution. They think they write their own constitution. They think India is ruled from Nagpur. For them, we want to tell them India is ruled by our constitutional law, constitution books. Right? The governor is a rubber stamp. And he has the temerity to come and say, these are only amendment bills. So the governor will sit on them. Is this a joke? Does the amendment bill not passed by the parliament or not passed by the state assembly? If it is passed by the state assembly, it means that the people of Tamil Nadu had given their will. Is the governor there to negate the will of the people of Tamil Nadu? I am asking, what other job does the governor have? To go speak in functions and to go gut ribbons and participate in all these functions. Is this his duty? His duty is to sign. He is a rubber stamp. In the constitutional scheme of things, he is a postman in the constitutional scheme of things. Let him not forget that. The problem here is, they think they have, once they become governors, they think they are all pseudo chief ministers. The question is, has this happened in any of the BJP ruled states? So why are they doing this? They are doing this because they are envious. Their governance model is an utter failure. We are seeing how Gujarat model. We are seeing what's happening in Gujarat.
Well, what is the way out then?
In contrast to the
Sanjay Hegde, then what is the way forward? Are we going to see this getting even worse? Sanjay Hegde.
No, the system is getting worse, and in fact, I think half the fight began in Delhi itself, when the Lieutenant Governor was used to stymie a lot of proposals of an elected government. That model has travelled all over India, and essentially the governors have become governors general. They report to a crown and they take instructions from it. Constitutionally, what should happen is that governors should know their limits, go strictly by the Supreme Court judgment in Shamsher Singh's case. They have to be advised by the cabinet at all times. Now, please take this analogy a bit further. Supposing the President of India were to start acting the same way vis-a-vis the Prime Minister, would that be acceptable? In fact, India came close to a constitutional crisis like this many years ago when Gyani Zail Singh almost dismissed the Rajiv Gandhi government. These are not new issues. These issues have been well settled. But if the incumbents of the day do not see the constitutional history or what the conventions are, then it may well be that the president should be requested to withdraw her pleasure from their continuance in office.
All right, have to leave it at that tonight. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us on what is becoming a bigger and bigger confrontation between governors and some of the opposition ruled states. Thanks for joining us tonight. Goodbye.